Good morning everyone. Today I am going to discuss on the topic concept of mercantilism. Paper 4016, fourth semester, Unit 3, Rise of the Modern West, Unit 3 B number point. The term mercantilism was coined by Victor Rocketti, who was a French economist, and Adam Smith, who was a Scottish economist. Besides that, other scholars like Thomas Munt, who was an English economist, and Goalpara, who was a French economist, and Serra, who was an Italian economist, have been the most popular, who have write on the theory or the concept of mercantilism. However, Adam Smith, being a strong critic of it, had made him popularize the context mercantilism. Mercantilist theory. Mercantilist theory, it is an economic theory based on the concept for the purpose of building wealthy and powerful states, which believe that the wealth of the nations could be achieved through government controls and regulations of trade, commerce, and economic activities. It involved with the wealth accumulations, establishment of favorable trade with other countries, and development of international trade. According to mercantilist theory of international trade, a country's wealth can be determined by the amount of its gold and silver holdings. And according to the classical theory of trade, countries' wealth depend on the balance of exports minus imports. So, mercantilist theory had advocated government restrictions on imports by imposing tariff barriers and protect domestic business from foreign competitors. So, mercantilists believe a colonial empire was necessary for economic dominations, building a network of overseas colonies to provide raw materials and market for manufactured goods to ensure that their colonies had added to their national wealth. Mercantilism was the dominant school of economic thought during the 16th to 18th centuries. So this system dominated Western European countries like Great Britain, France, Spain, and Portugal. And this structure have been clearly showed about the characteristic of or the policies of mercantilism that was practiced during the 16th to the 18th century. Here you have seen gold and silver, and this is the mother treasury. The more it have been accumulated, the more it was known as the wealth of the nations. And the favorable balance of trade structure should be like this, as I have just discussed that. Exports should be more, and the weightage of the export here is more, and the weightage of the imports is less. So, mercantilist theory support the more export, and they limited the imports. So that if, for example, if they have allowed more imports, then it will be difficult for the mother country competitors regarding the production they have made. So, this is one of the important policies that have been adopted. That is one of the important policies that have been implemented in the mercantilist theory, is that they have to limit or they have to impose high tariff imposition, so that less productions of import can be entered into the mother country. And here, before I have mentioned that mercantilism or according to mercantilism, like the importance of colonies is always all the time pronounced, because from this mother country, like they have from the colonies, they have procured the raw materials, and then they have manufactured it. Again, they need for their markets also. From there, again, they have to sell, and again the gold and silver or the money have come again to the mother country. In different countries, mercantilism was known as different terms, like in German and Austria, it was known as Cameralism or Colonialism because of their importance given to gold and silver. So the economic policies that passed by the mercantilists, such as the government control of the use of an exchange of precious metals, which is often referred to as bullionism. So they give more importance to gold and silver instead of money. So this is known as bullionism. So bullionism dictated a favorable balance of trade. It dictated by placing high tariff on imported raw materials than the exported, so that there would be more exports than the imports. And in France, it was known as Colbertism. This Colbertism was given name after Baptiste Colbert. Actually, France had embraced mercantilism under Baptiste Colbert, who was the finance minister of Louis XIV. According to him, achieving economic self-sufficiency, sea power, establishing colonies, trades, and state regulates and enforce all the economic policies, bring the health and wealth of the nations. And in England, it was known as commercial or mercantile system. It emphasized the importance of commerce and trade. So basically, England's colonies in North America could sell what they have produced only in England and promote English trade and discourage the importations of foreign goods. Then tariffs were placed on foreign products, and in the second half of the 17th century, laws were passed requiring all the ships bringing goods to England have owners and a predominantly English crew. Here, their concept what they have so far known as the mercantile system is that whatever money they have flowed have to again come like round like this, and again they have to bring back the wealth for the nations. Okay, this is mercantilist world economic from 1530 to 1776. Here we have seen that how European countries are procuring the wealth of the nations, and through this what was the economic structure of the economy of the world, like that. So we can see that from this mercantilist theory and the applications of this mercantilism practices, Western Europeans have started minting gold and silver or billions from the Americas, and again from Americas into currency, and again they have been able to finance the trade with Asian countries, that is mainly India and China, and to able finance plantations in the Americans, and profit from all overseas endeavors accumulate, able to finance agriculture improvement and the industrial revolutions, and they have bring an industrial revolutions and that had been affected in their social and economy. Not only that, this home economy again had transformed into the changes of the world economy system as a whole. And in Americas, the enormous quantities of gold and silver bullion, then enormous quantities of free lands, like then imported from America, plantation productions of agriculture commodities, European and global markets profit from all these endeavors accumulate in Western Europe. And in Africa, the sources of slave labor for American plantations, market for European manufacturers, points from these endeavors accumulate in Western Europe. Actually, in my previous slide, I haven't mentioned about in the context of economy in the context of slavery. However, during the mercantilism, during the economic dominant period from 16th to 18th century, slave trade or the slavery had a great impact on the economy of the Europe as a whole. However, I was not mentioning on the slide because today we are just going to discuss about the the simple concept of mercantilism in Europe. This will be nicely we have to study back in our next class, and we have to define the two terms mercantilism and imperialism in the context. This will be in our next class. And in Asia, Europeans able to purchase expensive spices and manufactures with cheap and American gold in India and silver in China. So European involved in country trade between Asian ports, profit from these endeavors accumulate in Western Europe. So this is the overall structure how this mercantilism was had changed the economic character of the world from the 16th century to the 18th century. So now I am going to get a brief introductions how it is originated and how it was developed in Europe. As we have known that in European history, the period 16th to 18th century is a landmark or the turning point in the history of Europe, as we have all known that 16th century witnessed the age of exploration and discovery, and this exploration and discovery period had been a great impact to expand and conquest new territories by the European countries, and gradually it had resulted into an establishment of a new empire in South America, and gradually this had led into subjugations of the continents of America, gradually expanded and maintained dynamic relationship with Asia by applying mercantilist policy. That is the reason why in my previous slide I have shown about the relationship, how spice trade was related with the Asian countries and how tea was related with China, all these things in the context after they have maintained a dynamic relationship with Asia, and this has changed the natures of the economies of the world. So the period witnessed increase in the volume of international trade and commerce consequences as systems of unequal exchange, and that had bring the world into a new era that is known as a unequal exchange. Unequal exchange means Europeans were imposing this mercantilist policy for acquiring the Asian countries and accumulating their wealth. That is the reason why in Indian history we have found the drain of wealth theory. That was also one of the direct consequences of the impositions of these mercantilist policies towards the India by the English, the Dutch and the French. So these features during this period have been characterized as mercantilism or merchant capitalism by various historians. So what we have learned, there is limited quantity of wealth in the globe and every nation competes for it. In this context, what we have to understand, from 16th to 18th century, the world was competing for each other, and this theory, this economic domination theory was developed in order to bring more accumulation for the wealth of the nations. So this chapter or this chapter has taught us about the importance of implementations of a policies that policies can bring the health and wealth of the nations. Thank you.